And we're being told that they are working on a timeline for health care and tax reform. House Speaker Paul Ryan yesterday said that he's still confident that we will see a comprehensive tax code overhaul by the end of this year. Listen to what he said. I want to see your reaction.
This will be done in 2017. That is our timeline. We would like to get it done as soon as possible, and as soon as possible for us is by the end of summer. But we're going to take our time to get it right. We clearly could get this done by the end of summer, but if it needs to go a little longer, we'll do that.
What do you think, David? You buying it? 2017 tax reform?
I'd love to see it. You know, we clearly need pro-growth and more competitive tax reform. I'm confident there'll be a proposal by the end of the year, but it's a different story as to whether or not it'll be enacted into law. You know, we had a proposal with regard to reform of the Affordable Care Act, but it still hasn't happened. Look, we need to get this economy going. We need to generate more jobs. We need to improve our competitive posture internationally. And quite frankly, we also need to do something about our deteriorating infrastructure, which could help growth, which could help job opportunities. But most of that money is going to have to come from the private sector. And there's plenty of patient capital out there that can be associated with, you know, income-producing revenue streams.
Right.
Whether it's
David, what impact do you think all of these deregulatory moves are having? Congress has actually passed bills to undo some regulations. How impactful will that be, and how long of a timeline will it really be visible in terms of the economic growth in the future?
Well, Steve, I think it sends a signal, you know, not only at the federal level, but the state level. I live in Connecticut. It's the second most regulated state in the union. It's clearly an impediment to attracting new business and to grow existing businesses. So I think the signal has been sent. It's going to take a while for him to be able to operationalize his executive order where he wants to get rid of 2 for every 1 that's promulgated. The other thing is, how are you going to keep score on that? You know, the career people can be pretty inventive with regard to how you keep score on this. But
yeah.
We're talking about institutional changes. What can OMB do? It has a lot of authority that's been unused in recent years to push this along, even if Congress dithers.
OMB is the arm of the president and the White House. OMB has to take the lead on major issues such as regulatory reform, such as government restructuring, reorganization, such as other management initiatives. I am pleased that there have been more talk about these kinds of things early in this administration. At the same point in time, you need to get the deputies in place who are the chief operating officers in order to be able to implement. There are not enough people at home in order to be able to push these initiatives and to be able to implement these initiatives.
David, are you worried about the lack of talk about controlling the ballooning debt in this country? Again, because interest rates are so low with the 10-year Treasury yield, the U.S. can borrow at 2.2% a year over a 10-year period. So it gives a lot of wiggle room to the Republicans, but we still have net interest payments that were up 30% just in the month of March from a year ago.
The fastest growing expense in the federal budget is interest expense. We're still adding debt faster than the rate of growth in the economy. Interest rates have started to go up. What do you get for interest? Nothing. Look, we need to move past the debt ceiling. We need to focus on debt to GDP. We don't have to pay off the debt. Not all debt is bad, but too much debt is, especially in a rising interest rate environment.
Yeah,
so and by the way, debt to GDP is a pro-growth approach combined with fiscal responsibility, and that's what we need.
What does all of this confusion or sort of uncertainty mean for Republicans in the battle in 2018? I mean, if Texas is any indication, according to a new Lyceum poll, incumbent Senator Ted Cruz is trailing Representative Castro by 4% on an early trial ballot. 37% of Texans polled said they were still undecided. And earlier this month, David, you announced plans to run for governor in Connecticut. As a Republican, do you think that the Texas race reflects the mood across the country? Tell us what you're going to do to move forward in Connecticut as governor.
Well, first, there's the difference between the federal and the state. At the federal level, and obviously Senator Cruz is a U.S. senator, people are waiting to see what are you going to get done. You know, they talked about doing a lot of things, but frankly, not much has gotten done. And so it's still early. I think it's way too early to be able to say what's going to happen. At the state level, let's take Connecticut. Connecticut has gone from a top 5 state to a bottom 5 state in the last 30 years. It's been grossly mismanaged. It needs comprehensive tax reform. It needs regulatory relief. It needs civil service reform. It needs welfare reform. It needs infrastructure reform. And you're not going to get that kind of reform from a typical career politician or somebody who doesn't know how to make things work in government. So, what I hope to do is try to help create a turnaround in Connecticut that will be a model for other troubled states, and quite frankly, to show Washington how do you need to engage the citizens with the truth in order to make tough choices in all these areas we've talked about that can be successful and sustainable over time.
David, the decline of Connecticut began when Connecticut enacted an income tax, state income tax. Are you going to find a way to repeal it and make it attractive again?
At a minimum, we're going to dramatically reform our tax structure because we're overtaxed, we're overregulated, we're not competitive. And I think we also have...
You get rid of that income tax in Connecticut, it's going to be a magnet. It'll be the Texas of the North.
Yeah, no wonder everybody's moving out of Connecticut. Look what GE did a couple of years ago. They completely left because it's a tax story.
Well, GE is 3 miles from my house, and my property, the value of my house has gone down 30%. My taxes have gone up, property taxes have gone up 50% in the last 8 years. That is unacceptable, unsustainable. Steve, you know me, believe me. I'll get the job done. We need dramatic reforms, but not just on the tax reform side, regulatory and spending.
Yeah, all right. We'll see if those policies resonate with the people of Connecticut. Dave, we'll be watching that.
I am one.
Yeah, exactly.
Good to be with you.
I live in Connecticut, so there you go.
You got Dagan's vote. You got Dagan's vote.
We're the only 2 people in Connecticut who aren't running for governor. That's the problem.
DaveWalkerCT.com. DaveWalkerCT.com. Check it out.
We will check it out. David Walker, good to see you, sir. Thanks so much.
Good to be with you, Maria.